reviews right here and right now. The first game we're going to be looking at today is Donkey Kong, a Nintendo classic back from one of their first games in the arcades. So the point of the game was you were trying to save Pauline from the clutches of Donkey Kong. You were Jumpman, or Mario as is later known. Basically, you went through a few levels of a construction site trying to get to Donkey Kong to get your girlfriend back and basically destroy Donkey Kong. Now, this was an arcade game back in the day, and it's a fun arcade game still. Basically, what you do is you platform your way up to the top each time as it progressively gets harder in the first two levels. The third level, you're trying to take out a few blocks to try to drop off the girder so you make Donkey Kong fall and die. It is fun for the 3 levels you get, but it's only 3 levels. So the main problem is it's not a long game. It was an arcade game. It wasn't needed to be long. It was more about high scoring, see how many times you get through it. It wasn't meant as a home console game, really. But back in this time when it came out on the home consoles, this could work, actually. You know, home consoles games didn't need long. Obviously now, it's still a decent game. And for $5, you'll get your money's worth if you remember the game fondly, and we'll play through it over and over again. But with it being on so many different compilations, you can get it on the GBA, you can get it on an e-reader card set, you can get it in Animal Crossing. There's so many different versions, and there's superior versions like the one for the Game Boy that has the original levels and then like 90 plus more that are really good. It's just not worth it. But I guess if you are a big fan of the original arcade Donkey Kong and you have the 500 Wii points and you really like it, then it's worth it. But really, for most of us, it's not going to be. So, in my opinion, it's not going to be worth your points. Next game we're going to be looking at is Legend of Zelda for the NES. It's basically one of the 3 defining games of the NES generation as we look back on it now, being Super Mario Bros., Metroid, and Zelda. The game still holds up surprisingly well, which I didn't think it would after, playing Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and games like this. The point of the game, if you haven't ever played a Zelda game, is you're Link, but in this game you could name your character anything, but you're Link, and you're trying to save Princess Zelda from the clutches of Ganon. Now, this is one of the first true examples of an RPG for most people. You are in the role of Link, and you are going through a big overworld map, gaining new power-ups and items along the way, collecting money and defeating enemies, going through dungeons and defeating bosses, getting pieces of a Triforce to basically get to the final boss. It's still a challenging game. It's still a fun game. I mean, it's still basic now compared to the Zeldas of our time, but for 500 Wii points, it's not a bad deal at all. Obviously, there's been other incarnations. There's the Collector's Edition available with it on there. There's the GBA version that you can get just about anywhere. You can get it if you hack into Animal Crossing. I mean, there's a few different ways to get access to the game if you have some of these things. But actually, this is a good game to buy on your Wii. It's one of the best of the available NES games from at the launch. And I personally think that if you've never played it, or it's been a long time and you're a Zelda fan, or even if you're just a mainstream Zelda fan, definitely give it a shot. It's one of the easier Zeldas to get into, and it's one of the easier ones to get through, but it's definitely going to throw you some challenges out there. I definitely would recommend if you got the 500 Wii points and you're looking for a good Zelda, this would be the game to pick. Our next game we're going to be looking at on today's video is Pinball for the NES. Yes, I know there's a recurring theme of the NES. I'm going through all the launch games first, so I'm getting the NES ones out of the way because there was a lot. Don't want to hear about it. Anyways, pretty much self-explanatory. It's pinball. 1 table, 2 screens high. You do flippers. There's a little bonus stages Mario and Pauline from Donkey Kong, and it's a little breakout, and there's 1 table and it's pinball. I mean, really, it controls fine. It's plays like a pinball machine. It's a one-table pinball machine. I mean, if you like pinball, it's cool, but really, it's not worth $5. There's easier ways to get access to it, like Animal Crossing, e-reader, GBA. It's pinball. Really, I'm not trying to be funny. I just don't know what else to say besides it's a pinball game. It's a one-table pinball game. It's meh. It's not an outstanding pinball game, but it's not a bad pinball game. It's pinball. Don't know what else to tell you. So the next thing we're looking at is soccer for the NES. It's basically the same concept I was getting across with pinball. It's just a soccer game. It's a simple, basic soccer game for your NES. Not a lot of complicated controls, just a couple different little switches like kick, pass, and switch players. The music was kind of, tech little bippity boppity 8-bit music. There wasn't much to it. It was a soccer game. It was a decent soccer game. Obviously now it's bare bones soccer. It's fun, yes, but you can get it in Animal Crossing, you can buy it for your e-reader, you can get a GBA version. It's the same concept I'm going through with these other games. It's just easier to obtain than wasting $5 on games you can't get like this. If you do like soccer games, it's kind of an amusing, fun little game for two players. It's kind of cool to see where soccer games came from, I guess. But really, unless you're a die-hard soccer fan or you are NES fanatic, need to have all the NES games you can get, skip on it and save the points for something better.